I'd like to begin with reading a sort of way to invoke a quality in us by talking about a bodhisattva called Sadaparibhutta. He was called the never disparaging Buddha. We invoke your name, Sadaparibhutta. We aspire to learn your way of never disparaging or underestimating any living being. With respect, you say to all you meet, you are someone of great value. You have Buddha nature. I see this potential in you. We will look with a wise and compassionate gaze so that we are able to hold up a mirror where others can see their ultimate nature reflected. We will remind people who feel worthless that they too are a precious wonder of life. We vow to water only the positive seeds in ourselves and in others, so that our thoughts, words, and actions can encourage confidence and self-acceptance in ourselves, our children, our loved ones, and in everyone we meet. Inspired by the great faith and insight that everyone is Buddha, we will practice your way of patience and inclusiveness, so we can liberate ourselves from ignorance and misunderstanding and offer freedom, peace, and joy to ourselves, to others, and to our society. So these are beautiful words. I'm reminded of when I hear about the never disparaging Buddha, you can imagine the Buddha meeting some characters that maybe were not so kind or not so pleasant, but he always spoke to the goodness in them. He saw beyond their state of suffering and their afflictions and saw into them and said, I see behind that. I know there is beauty in you. So sometimes when we lose our trust in someone, it's important to remind ourselves that there is something we can trust. It's also in the sutra, in the 5 ways of taking care of anger, 5 ways of dealing with anger. Even when there is somebody you meet who does not have anything you can see, which you can call kindness, in their actions, in their speech, in their heart, you don't give up on them. You try to do your best to take care of them. You say to yourself, this person must be suffering a lot. What can I do to help them? As if you met somebody dying, sick on the road. You would take them to a place where they can get help, right? I'm also reminded of an American friend that comes to Plum Village. I would call his name Art. He often, much of his work as a psychotherapist, I think, he would see teenagers who were either self-harming or suicidal, and they would be referred to him. And he shared with me that that was his way of helping. He would sit with them, he would listen to them, and he would wait until he saw something in them that he could see they were alive, a light in their eyes. And as soon as he saw it, he'd say, I see you. I see the light in your eye, and I know you have that. And he would give them a feeling of the beauty in them had been seen. Often as parents, we may be very concerned for the future and the well-being of our children, and the way in which we express our love may be concern and worry for them, especially if they are maybe in the teen years and behaving in some destructive way. So it can be difficult, but if we can remember that the most precious gift we can offer to them at this time is our trust and confidence in them. It doesn't mean naivety, like you still know that you want them to be safe. And you maybe know that there are things that you wish you could say, please don't do this. But to offer our trust and confidence is a very powerful act, and not to be underestimated. Many people share, maybe you have the experience that something in your life, somebody who showed that trust and confidence in you, somebody who gave you the feeling, somebody believed in me, and then it gave you a sense of confidence. It watered that seed of self-confidence in you. And Thay, our teacher, has consistently played the role of Sadaparibhutta with us, his monastic and lay disciples. He's always had faith and trust and confidence in our capacity to wake up, even when we're displaying something of the opposite. And he put his energy and love into watering those seeds in us and speaking to that part of us which is there. It may be hidden behind our illusion of being separate, of needing this and needing that, and feeling a victim, feeling angry, jealous, whatever it may be, our despair. There were times where Thay would say very concretely, Thay has trust and confidence in you, my child, and my children. He knew that we needed to hear that, and he would say it, and it was good for us to hear, it was good for me to hear. I remember I saw that I had many times where I looked at Thay and I looked at the Sangha, and I had so much faith and belief in Thay and the Sangha, and I read the teachings and I thought, wow, it's amazing. But I saw that I lacked faith in myself. I lacked that trust and confidence in myself. I knew that I was not special, that I too had Buddha nature. So I was not any different from I wasn't the one person in the whole universe that didn't have Buddha nature. But somehow this idea that, because even dogs have Buddha nature, like Debbie, a dog here. If you find her, you can speak to her Buddha nature. But even so, we still, even though we know that, we believe that. It makes one, two. He did tell me this microphone would be a bit unstable. Are we? Use the handheld. Oh, it's back on. We'll see how it goes. I think I'm being asked to use the handheld. Yeah, that sounds good. So this is to say that we should look to ourselves, and if we see that we are lacking in trust and confidence in ourselves, we shouldn't stop there and say, oh, we should see it that as practitioners, we have the tools and we can actually do something. We can to build trust and confidence in ourselves. It can be a practice, and it's a practice of love, self-love. And fairly recently, something like a few years ago, Thay, in an English Dharma talk, introduced trust and confidence as one of the, an addition to the 4 immeasurable minds, the 4 minds of love, along with reverence. So I'm going to go to the board and write those Brahma Viharas up. So most of us are very familiar with the 4 immeasurable minds, and they are the Brahma Viharas, right? The abodes of the Brahma. We can sometimes call them the limitless minds. So classically there are 4. And we can also term them the ingredients of true love. So I'll just put true love here. We want to know what love is made of. This is a teaching on true love. So the first one is Maitri in Sanskrit, which is actually loving kindness. In Vietnamese, tu, right? The help, yeah. And karuna for compassion. B and mudita, joy. Giao hội. Okay, and then upeksha for inclusiveness is one of Thay's favorite translations, inclusiveness, non-discrimination. Often translated as equanimity in the text, and this in Vietnamese, za, Brother Phap Lai. So then Thay comes along and adds two more. Only Thay could do that. This has been around for thousands of years. Okay, so it's not Phap Lai. And he offers them in English. So we have trust and confidence. I think then in Vietnamese means faith, and in Sanskrit, Shraddha. I think in Pali, Sada. But this word here is, I'm going to put in brackets. It's usually the English word faith, and faith and trust and confidence is very difficult to say how they're different when you try to describe. But I still find it interesting that Thay chose to choose these words, trust and confidence. Faith shows up in the 5 powers, so it's a very important quality and seed in us. And so for me, I guess when I thought about why the word trust, it has more immediacy to me. I mean, and again, you can use the word faith and trust almost interchangeably. You can switch between the two, and they do share, the same significance in many ways. But there is maybe something more intimate, more immediate about trust. There is something also where you have the sense that you are risking something when you trust somebody. You trust yourself to somebody. You entrust something precious of yourself to them, like Thay entrusting his continuation to us. Thay trusting us. So it has more connection with the sense of friendship that is maybe also, Maitri. I often, when I teach teenagers on this subject, I use this one for friendship as well. And just for completeness, I'll mention number 6 because it's a whole subject in itself, reverence. And I got Yoidak to tell me, he said, Ton Kin Yasak. Is that right? For reverence. Okay, so, and I don't know the Sanskrit, how reverence would be. But we're focusing on this one today. And I just wanted to share it in the context of this very ancient teaching predating the Buddha, the Brahma Viharas. But the Buddha very much included the Brahma Viharas as part of his teaching, saying that this is when you practice the limitless minds, the minds of love, you will arrive very deeply, along with the practice of mindfulness of breathing, the sutras on the Satipatthana sutras. You practice along with that mindfulness practice. You will, with the minds of love, you will arrive very deeply at enlightenment. That was the quote of the Buddha. But trust and confidence as a limitless mind, something that we can always develop and grow. And as an aspect of love, it's something that we should practice to offer. Even somebody doesn't deserve it. I never felt like some of this, some of the trust and confidence like that Thay offered us or that we offer, I am offered by the Sangha, You're not sure that you deserve that, but when you are offered it, it's an act of love. It waters that seed in you, and it has the effect of you want to be trustworthy. You want to be worthy of that trust. So it gives you a sense also of responsibility. I have a friend who used to live here. He's called Brendan from New Zealand, and I always recall, I can't quite recall the context, but there was somebody that he was told was not trustworthy. And he was known to steal things and to take money. And I remember him sharing that he gave this person, he entrusted him with some money or something, I can't recall the exact thing. And he didn't question him or say, now make sure you come back with that. He just looked at him with the eyes of trust. So he was not being naive because he knew that the kind of reputation of the person, but he offered him that trust. I don't know the rest of the story. Like, did he? You have to make your own experiment. I don't know if the guy came back and ran off with the money. Yeah. But even if he did, you have to trust that that action had a benefit, that in the future he'll remember that, because there's something that you can't quite put into words, some transmission of love in that's beyond words. Now, I said I would ask for your help. I thought it might be interesting to get some of you to share what do you trust in? I could just write some examples on the board from you. Anybody? Start us off. Yes. Children. Okay. Christian.
Trust in the universe.
Whoa. Okay.
I trust in my parents' love for me.
Great. Nature. Yeah. Life. Okay. Sorry? Fraternity, yeah. Fraternity. Can I put in, there's something funny going on over there. Fraternity is brotherhood and sisterhood, okay? Am I missing something? What's that? Mindfulness, okay. Sister. Yes, right, breathing. So the practice. I wondered when it would get on to the practice. Yeah. Love. Okay. Oh, thank you. I'll put that down as peace. Okay. Three jewels. Okay. So nobody's mentioned politicians yet? Or the media? No? Or the military? No? Okay, next.
Myself.
Yourself, good. Yeah, okay. Trusting ourselves. Happiness? Ah, okay. Trusting in happiness. There's lots more, huh? Thank you. So, how about, thank you. I guess you wouldn't be here if you didn't have some trust in me. So, we trust in each other. Yeah. Yeah. Trust in suffering, very good. Wow. Couple of trust in emotions. Okay. Hey.
Rational skepticism in the scientific method.
Right. There's space here. Rational skepticism. Is that with a K? Yeah, skepticism. And the scientific method. And, okay, I'm creativity, okay. If we go till 11, I'm done. For the, yeah. Impermanence, okay. Whoa. Yes.
I trust that love is stronger than hate.
Okay. Love.
Love stronger than hate.
Stronger than hate. Okay. Right. So, can we say you trust in no self, just for the sake of, I'll put it along with impermanence. I can put nirvana just for the 3 seals to be complete, yeah. So I just put the 3 seals here. Okay.
That's all continuation.
There is continuation, trust in continuation, okay? Whee! Okay, so we leave it there? Or there's a lot, yeah. So what does that tell us? That we have a lot we trust in? Because a lot of times there is a focus on what we don't trust in. And there is a lot of despair going around. So if you take a little snap of this and maybe just remind yourself of all the things you can trust in when you're losing trust. And I know we are facing uncertain times, and there are many ways in which we're challenged to feel trust in the future, trust in life, in a sense. So there are teachings that can help us to restore our trust, and there are things that we can do that are immediately beneficial. And just to know that we are putting that energy of trust and confidence, that we are putting our love, energy of love, into our children, into our continuation, into ourselves, and into the universe. As Christian mentioned, the universe. Nothing is wasted. Nothing dies. I can't remember, how do they say it in French? Rien de se crée, rien de se perd. Yeah. Speaking to rational skepticism and the scientific method, there is a sutra called the Kalama Sutra. The Buddha went to a place where there was these people called the Kalama people. Maybe you know this one. But basically, he was asked, many spiritual teachers come this way, and they all have their particular thing that they present, their version of the truth. And sometimes they conflict with each other. So which are we to put our trust in? And the Buddha replied, if it sounds sensible, if it sounds reasonable, rational even, put it into practice. And having put it into practice, notice what happens. That's the scientific method. Notice what happens. Is it beneficial for yourself? and for others? Does it cause harm to yourself? Does it cause harm to others? And so if it is beneficial and it does not cause harm for yourself and others, then continue that practice. You can trust in that practice. And that actually is a good basis for ethics, I think, to think in terms of, is it beneficial for ourselves and others? And then we can, and that maybe the word beneficial needs some scrutiny, but it's something which we know when we experience it. It's not beneficial, would take us beyond mere sort of, it's pleasurable. And I'm very glad somebody mentioned the trusting in suffering, and somebody also said emotions, but presumably being able to learn from our emotions, to learn from our suffering, to grow from our suffering. The teaching of no mud, no lotus. The teaching that we actually need suffering in order to grow. And even we get a lotus, if we want that lotus to stay alive, it needs more mud. It's not that we get the lotus and then chop it off and keep it. We actually continue to, it needs to be, we need to nourish it. And of course we don't just need suffering, we need the practice of mindfulness and breathing. We need to bring our happiness and peace to our suffering. And yes, it is wonderful to trust in nature. And Thay said one time he had a conversation with Mother Earth when he was concerned about climate change, and said, "Dear Mother Earth," in a meditation, "can I trust you?" And Mother Earth replied, "Yes, you can trust me. We can trust Mother Earth, we can trust nature." And then Mother Earth said, "Can I trust you?" And I was a bit startled. Oh, Mother Earth is asking, can Mother Earth trust me? Yes, Mother Earth, you can trust me. That is a really strong statement. That is a vow to practice, to be trustworthy. And I often question, it's a question for ourselves, could we say the same thing to Mother Earth? We trust in nature, and can nature trust in us? Can I have a sound of the bell? Thank you for that. That's really beautiful expression of what we can trust in. It's very, very lovely to see. And I'm reminded of some things as well. when we say we trust in impermanence, there's a very, many of us maybe know the story of Thay when he was in the war, and one of his students was despairing because the war was continuing now for 20 years. And Thay said, the war too must be impermanent. It was an expression of trust in impermanence, but in this case, in impermanence of the war. So there's many, when we look at that list, there's many things that we could explore from that. And interestingly, one that's not up there, but it's sort of up there, somebody said brotherhood and sisterhood, is trusting in actually it was said, sister looking at me, the 3 jewels. I forgot to put it up, the 3 jewels. And specifically, the Sangha. Trusting in the community. And many people do take refuge. I'm told that the Upper Hamlet there's a couple of weeks of the summer that are almost fully booked already. They only just opened. So many people coming to Plum Village wanting to take refuge here. Because as a community we offer an environment which is beneficial, allows people to touch peace and take care of their suffering, touch happiness, and maybe give them some sense of trust back, trust in humanity. I also recall Thay being asked by somebody, you see this situation in the world, does it not give rise to despair? And it was at a large retreat where people had just received the 5 mindfulness trainings, and there was maybe about 300 people that had received them that morning. So in the question and answer, Thay answered, when I see so many people taking the 5 mindfulness trainings, my faith comes back. I have, that gives me a lot of trust in the future. And certainly, you can imagine if everybody were to practice the 5 mindfulness trainings, even not necessarily the 5 trainings, but something equivalent from different traditions. If people were even just to practice mindful breathing a little bit every day, the world could be a peaceful place. It's possible. And this community, I think, with so many brothers and sisters from all over the world, different cultures, different backgrounds, I feel we are a success in showing that peace is possible, harmony is possible, a future is possible, living together harmoniously. And just to know that it's possible is already a beautiful thing. Even if there are places in the world where it's not happening, we remind ourselves it's possible. So, in a sense, trust is the fabric of community. Having trust in each other. If we do not have trust in each other, in the community, and if there is not trust of the lay friends towards the monastics, and there is not trust within the monastics or within any sangha in any community, that community cannot stay together. It cannot last. So it's very important to consider what we mean by trust, what we're trusting in. I had another question which I chose to ask: what do we mean by trust? There's something for us to reflect also. And how do we build trust among ourselves, rather than just assuming it's either there or it's not, but actually ways in which we can build trust among ourselves. So it said in the initial reading I gave that we take care, we vow to water only the positive seeds in ourselves and in others, so that our words, thoughts, actions can encourage confidence and self-acceptance in ourselves, our children, and our loved ones, and in everyone we meet, and in our community as well. So by taking care of our actions of body, speech and mind, we can create conditions for trust. By simply being here and showing up for each other. We don't have to be perfect, we don't have to be already like a fully realized person, or somehow, we don't have to be anything more than we already are. We can come with our suffering, we can come with our difficulties, even with our lack of trust and confidence. But with our intention to say, hey, I'm here, I'm showing up, and that is already enough. And then we can be there for each other, and we can grow our trust and confidence in each other and in ourselves. It's hugely important to practice loving speech. In the Sutra on Love, they say, be upright, humble, and capable of using loving speech. And I think if we are, and by upright, it's not just about sitting straight. It means about having virtue of your actions, having integrity. So going in the direction of true right action, integrity, being able to use loving speech, and also loving the way we think about each other, loving thoughts, thinking in the right way, right thinking about each other. We can create trust and confidence, and not to gossip about each other. And that is a terrible thing that we can all be guilty of in the community, is to talk about each other in ways which we would not want the other person to hear. And it's something, it somehow boomerangs back at some time. You cannot avoid the consequence of that action somehow. So be careful of the way you talk about others. And even if you need to share some suffering, you share it in a way where you take responsibility for your suffering in relation to that other person. Again, the fact that trust and confidence, that Thay chose to put it in the Brahma Viharas, lets us know that it's a practice of love, and it's something it's about relationships with ourselves, with each other in the community, and of course with Mother Earth. So it's not some separate, like faith can sometimes have this very introverted quality to it. Like you're just, I have faith, and of course to have, as I said at the beginning, they're not, they're both beautiful words. So how we build trust in the community, taking care of our actions, showing up for each other, is very, for me, I like the teaching on the 6 harmonies, and they really give a lot. They speak to this, how we build trust. But I won't, I've basically mentioned the fact that we share the same mindfulness trainings together, that we have the same, our aspirations, they may be somewhat different in expression, but there is some root of our aspiration which is the same. Maybe that aspiration is to bring more loving kindness into the world, more love. Our aspiration to transform suffering. And if the Plum Village community is trusted by people in the world and looked up to, we want somehow to be, sometimes we can feel intimidated. It's like, because we know we're not perfect. But we somehow want to rise to that trust that is put in us. There was a young man that spoke to me this week. He asked to see me. He said, "Oh, can I just spend 10 minutes with you?" And he had been here a number of years ago, and some of the brothers that were no longer here. They may be at other centers, and so he was feeling sad because he wasn't feeling the connection that he'd felt those years ago. And then he also mentioned, and at sitting meditation, there was hardly any brothers. And there were so few brothers, and I don't know, I'm starting to worry about, is Plum Village community going to continue? And the night before that sitting meditation, there'd been an hour change. So we'd lost an hour's sleep. And the brothers were very lazy to go. And I can share that story because I also was one that didn't get to the sitting that morning. So I felt very ashamed when he said that. I thought, oh, yeah, sorry about that. But, you have to stay here a bit longer than a week before you give up on the Sangha. I think we're doing okay. We just have we have some times where maybe, we could do better. When I was a novice monk, there was a time when a young man was just about to leave, and he'd been very inspired. And this was when I was in Deer Park in California, and he said, when I leave, I'll be away, but I'll remember that there is a place where people practice mindful eating. And it will really, every time I think of you guys and know that here you're practicing mindful eating, it will give me so much faith and trust. And he said, and he looked at me, and I said, yeah, sometimes when I'm eating, I'm not very mindful. And he says, yeah, but you practice, you definitely practice mindful eating most of the time. I said, oof, most of the time? I wasn't sure. And I said, he said, at least a few chews every meal. You practice mindfully. I said, yeah, at least a few chews. And after that, I always thought I've got to at least a few mouthfuls, I really must make sure that they're mindful, because there is somebody out there that is relying on my mindful chews. And so sometimes people having trust in us and confidence, it makes us feel like responsibility as well, so it can be a good thing. And of course we do it for ourselves. And Thay, one of the things that he used, in a way, trust and confidence, knowing that that would bring us, make us step up. He never used force in the sense of, the way of making us feel fearful if we didn't show up for sitting or walking. He wanted us to enjoy the practice, You do it because you like it. And I got inspiration, when I sat with my mentees, the Plum tree family the other day, and one of the brothers said, I don't go to sitting now because I need to be seen to be on the cushion, but I go because I really enjoy sitting meditation. And I think, well, when we've got that, where there's one of the sisters shared that happiness is something to trust in. If we're happy with the practice, if we're happy in the Sangha, we will stay and we will practice. So we need to remember it's not about a performance or to be getting praise or getting blame or being acting out of a kind of fear. But we do it because we like it. And we know it is beneficial for ourselves and for others. And that is the Kalama Sutra again. And there are also ways in which we can restore our trust in each other and in ourselves. And the main way, we call it beginning anew, the beginning a new practice. Huh? We can begin anew with ourselves, with our commitments. When we break even a small commitment we make to ourselves, if we keep breaking it, we lose confidence and we suffer. And even more so when we break our commitments to the Sangha. But there is a way back. We can begin anew. And reinvest in the present moment. Reinvest in our actions of body, speech, and mind right there. We find out, what can I do to restore? And we connect with, maybe it's our shame, maybe it's our feeling of suffering, our lack of confidence. And we say, okay, I know you're there, and I put this energy of remorse back into the present moment and into this direction again. So we begin anew. There was a king, I forget his name, who was very famous for beginning anew 6 times a day. And so we can very well begin anew with ourselves and also with others. So in building trust and confidence, we need to go to each other, communicate, and allow ourselves to be vulnerable and say, hey, I'm suffering, and I think I might have caused you some suffering. I'd like to talk to you and begin anew. I'd like to restore our connection. Yeah. So I just conclude with saying that we can trust. We know we've had the experience of being able to trust in the practice. It's been there for us in difficult moments. It's got us through something. We may have even experienced how we can trust our body to heal, even from a difficult illness, difficult disease like cancer. And our body has the natural capacity to heal if we allow it. Imagine if our body can heal from something like cancer through trusting the body and allowing love. We can also heal our small wounds, interpersonal, in the community together. We can trust that the practice will help. We don't have to stay in a place of resentment or bitterness or lacking, just not closing off, not blocking out. You see, that's why trust is so interesting, because it requires this vulnerability, like opening up, connecting. It means taking something of a risk, as I said at the beginning. But it is a practice of love, and Thay has offered it as a limitless mind and a practice of true love. So I invite us to develop this teaching, this relatively new teaching in this context, and explore it together and explore it in our meditation, and look and see how is your level of trust and confidence in yourself, towards yourself, in your practice, with your brothers and sisters, your loved ones, and with the world, with all of these. So, thank you for your kind attention and your trust.